Just quickly to go through the agenda today, we're going to do a very quick background on GoTab, a very quick background on CourtReserve. Then we're going to get into the demo. We're going to have an open Q&A, and we are making a recording available. So don't worry if you can't stay for till the end. We'll definitely be sending out the recording. And with that, I'm going to introduce Kim and Adam, our presenters today.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim. I am a product owner here at CourtReserve, and I will be taking you through the CourtReserve piece of today's demo. We're really excited to be able to bring this food and beverage option to our CourtReserve customers.
And I am Adam Howe. I am a solutions engineer with GoTab. Excited to be able to expand our presence in this type of environment that we really excel in regarding being able to customize the ordering experience for guests, especially in an entertainment type of venue. So happy to be here and go through that entire process. A little bit more about GoTab in general. I mean, GoTab is an entertainment commerce platform that is really designed for venues that want as many options as possible to provide different sources of ordering experiences throughout the time that the guest is there, whether they're moving around from court to court or ordering from a bar, ordering from a full service environment. It's really meant to be a very flexible option that is able to be molded to the environment in which you are presenting instead of forcing your hand to use a system that is only meant to work in one particular area. So we really put the guest experience first, giving them options on how to order, where to order from, and then providing different forms of payment. Obviously, one of the major parts of this integration with CourtReserve will be front and center during this demonstration as well.
All right, and then on the CourtReserve side of it, CourtReserve is a club management platform for our primary target of pickleball and tennis facilities. And so our platform allows organizations to have memberships, allows players to book courts online. You can also utilize our platform to manage your event registrations and your player experience through a desktop option, but also a very convenient mobile app. We also have a branded mobile app that we can customize to your organizations. And it's just a really great tool to be able to manage that member experience for these facilities.
Thank you, Kim. And I should have introduced Josh Willie from CourtReserve. Josh, do you want to say hi?
Hello, everybody. I will be handling the Q&A today. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be stopping Adam or Kim to get those questions answered for you all.
Thank you. All right, Adam, you're up.
Yeah, so as I mentioned, GoTab handles that guest experience, mostly revolving around the food and beverage aspect of the situation or of your concept. I'm going to go ahead and throw my screen up here real quick. So what everybody's looking at here is a couple different versions of what you would see from different perspectives. We're going to spend the start of time here in the middle. This is going to represent our pocket point of sale or handheld ordering devices, where they're very mobile. Your servers or bartenders can move around and add to orders, take payments directly on that device. In lieu of a counter style point of sale. Over on the left, you're going to see a version of our kitchen display system or KDS, where all of your orders are going to print into digitally. And make them a little bit more interactive and create a source of truth for all of your orders coming into different areas. And then we have our QR ordering portion over here on the right. And this is where guests would come in and start their own tabs by scanning a QR code. And what really kind of stands out in the experience with GoTab is that the tab will follow the guest around throughout the venue. So if you start a tab at the bar area or at a cocktail table, and then move to a court where you're still allowing people to place orders, you can scan into different QR codes without having to create separate tabs or separate transactions throughout your experience. So I do have a tab open already. We're going to kind of simulate the idea of what everybody would see. So as you come in, you can scan a QR code from your phone. If you have a tab open already, it'll just bring you to the menus that you're making available, which you can present in however you like. We present mostly with these nice big pictures, so you can kind of really show your entire menu what's available. What's nice is that you can filter out what items are available based on where they're scanning into. So again, if you are allowing people to order from like the court area or the space around the core area, but you don't want them to order certain items, you can make certain menus available from that area that's different from like the bar or any kind of dining area that you might have. So as you come in, as you start that tab, you're going to go ahead and you'll have to put a card on file. But we'll get to the point where, your members are going to be able to close out their tab to that CourtReserve membership. What's nice too is I have the ability to access this tab from my phone, but it also lives on the point of sale. So your servers, your bartenders, you still have the ability to go ahead and go up to the bar and add to your tab in that way. And it'll be very transparent as to where these orders came from. So as I come in here and add some food items, I'm gonna say no breadcrumbs on these mac and cheese. You show that cart here that's gonna be on your phone, send that order in, and that order is gonna come right into the KDS. And you'll notice that we have all those items that I just ordered from my phone are showing up on the point of sale as well. So if I did want to, converse with my server that comes over with their handheld and they want to add in, something else, they have the ability to do that in real time as well. And that updates on their tab from their phone as well. So you can see that all the items that I placed from my phone show up transparently here, and then they can see what was pointing from the server. Next level here would be you can actually share your tab with other people within your party. So you have a QR code that shows up on your phone that other people in your party can scan into, and they can then place orders on their phone on your tab without having to start a new tab of their own. They're still able to place, their own payments as well if they would like. So you can pay for items, you can split up items and have multiple people pay for different things. But ultimately, you're going to have the ability to close out to your CourtReserve membership if you have that membership, and we'll get to that in just a second. As you see these orders come in over here on the KDS, you're going to have the ability to, interact with those tickets from your kitchen, from your bar, wherever you're actually receiving these orders from. You'll be able to find out information if you forgot information about the item. You can see what the guests would see. You're also going to be able to 86 items straight from the KDS, which is amazing when you know the person who's actually pouring the beer or making the food. They're the ones that know when a keg kicks or when when items aren't available to be made. So when you can 86 items straight from the KDS, and that will 86 it from everywhere in real time. So you 86 this beer, you're not going to be able to order it from your guest ordering or from any point of sale station in real time. And then depending on your concept style or your service style, you can integrate what we call text on fulfill. You can actually send a message based on the status of your order to your guests. So as things are being fulfilled, you can have a text message actually be sent to your guests to let them know what to do next. So if you need them to come up and pick up their order from a pickup window, or if you just want to let them know that their order is on their way, you can have that text message sent out to them and add any kind of call to action to that message as well. As you are placing orders, or as you are walking around the space, if you do come to a situation where it's like, hey, I'm going to order my first order from one table, and then I'm going to go over to the courts, and you scan the new QR on the new section. We're going to scan this one. If you do have items that have been ordered from a certain area that have not been fulfilled yet, it actually will ask you if you want those items to be moved with you. So we'll go ahead and order, one more beer at this location. And then I'm going to go ahead and simulate a scan from a different QR, if I can find that. And then as I scan into this QR, it's actually recognizing that these orders were placed at this other table, but you're scanning into this new table. Do you want them to go? And this is really helpful if you are implementing food runners or drink runners that are actually bringing things out to your players or to your diners. And so these will actually move with the guests as they move around the space as well. So your food runners aren't moving. And if you notice here on the left, all these tickets that were in question over here on the guest order side, updated on the KDS. So your food runners aren't running around trying to find people where they're not at. So that's a little bit about the flow there. You have the option of closing out at multiple locations with this flow, which is great because the more options you give to people, the more options you give them to order, the more they order. And the easier you make it to close out tabs, the easier it will be for them to, with their positive experience. And that leads us to the ability to close out to their CourtReserve membership from their phones. They're going to be able to close out their tab to the CourtReserve. And give me 1 second. I'm going to refresh that. I'm going to end this. There we go. From the CourtReserve processor that's connected to their account, all they're going to have to do is put in the last name associated with their membership and their PIN. And I've got this PIN right here. I'm going to add that one in here. And then at that CourtReserve membership, they're going to ping to make sure that it actually exists, and it's going to close out to that membership. And I'll let Kim go into the flow on that end. But as you notice, that tab closed out in real time on the point of sale as well when it was closed out on this through the CourtReserve side of things. So I think that's pretty much wraps up kind of the overall customer flow and benefits by using the GoTab system combined with this. But I'm going to pass it over to Kim to keep going.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Okay, so first thing, I'm going to actually, Josh, I just saw a question come in that I'm happy to answer and take just before I start here. There's a PIN number. So the PIN number is the membership number. So just to clarify, when we enter a PIN number, whether it's through the QR code payment or the point of sale payment for the servers on the back end, that verification piece that goes through is going to be by last name and then the member number that they have in CourtReserve. So I'll get to that too. We'll show you where all that information lives in CourtReserve as well. But let's keep going. So I'm going to share with you two pieces to okay, great. That's the right screen, right, Josh?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So
before you get started, sorry, Kim, there was one quick question here. Someone asked, what about cash and what about people who aren't in CourtReserve from the GoTab side?
Adam, I will let you handle that question just as far as CourtReserve goes. These types of payments to process through CourtReserve, those would be with CourtReserve specifically, but I'm assuming that just based on what I've heard with GoTab, if the organization has other ways of payment methods, they can take cash and things like that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll be able to take any form of payment on card, whether they have the card saved into their GoTab wallet, if you will, or if they're paying directly, we have the ability to take both, dip, tap, swipe transactions, also being able to take transactions utilizing Apple Pay and other mobile wallets of that nature, and of course cash as well for those who are still using it.
All right, awesome. So the piece with the CourtReserve side of that, though, if you were not to process those payments through CourtReserve, those are just not going to show up in your CourtReserve system attached to your members. So if we're taking those payments externally, those aren't going to show here. But part of the benefit of processing those payments through CourtReserve is that you keep all of that information and that payment information about those members in one place. So if we shift back over to my screen here, I've got two visuals up here for you. I've got the ticketing system, the point of sale over here on the left from the server's perspective. We're going to walk through what a server would experience if they were going to be closing out these tabs as well. But really first, I wanted to start with the GoTab settings in CourtReserve. And so this integration is very easy to set up for yourself on the back end as far as a CourtReserve admin goes. It's very simple to enable the add-on from the admin side and our admin dashboard. And then once you do that, you've got a really small setup page here that would just take a little bit of settings in order to implement. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take these API keys that we give you. So you're going to copy your API username and your password, and you're actually going to give that to your GoTab account manager, and they're going to get the CourtReserve processor set up for you inside your CourtReserve, inside your GoTab account for your organization. So then once you have that CourtReserve processor set up within GoTab, then your customers and your servers are able to use the CourtReserve membership as payment avenues for processing those payments. We've got some additional settings here that you can require of CourtReserve payments. So specifically using CourtReserve, you can require users within your system to have payment profiles. That's very common practice for most of our clubs. And then you can also require upfront payment. And so you can kind of pair these settings together to kind of get it to do what you want to do, so to speak. I can require a payment profile, but if I don't require upfront payment, that payment's not going to process immediately on charging. So there are other avenues or other ways that people could go about collecting that payment. We have lots of customers that use batch billing and invoicing at the end of the month. So maybe you let your customers they close out their tab at the facility, but you let them accumulate a bill up until the end of the month. And we have a lot of customers that will charge monthly bills to their customers on their and monthly statements. So you have that, those kinds of settings. There's also some other ways that we can utilize those settings to kind of play into the way that you might want to process billing. And we've got a lot of that, those ways that we can do that within the GoTab knowledge base articles that we have set up. If you ever want to access the GoTab knowledge base articles, they're up here in our Learn More, up here of the settings page. So they're easily accessible to you at any point during the setup process. You can also say that you want to prevent members that are suspended or inactive from charging to GoTab. So that's another benefit as well. If you've got some members that maybe their membership is expired or they haven't re-upped, or you've suspended them for whatever reason, you can say that they're not allowed to process charges through GoTab. So they wouldn't be able to hit their member account with any charges that they're developing within GoTab. And then we also have some food and beverage category assignments for you to do in here as well. You can set up revenue categories within CourtReserve. So you can say that I want all of my GoTab food and beverage transactions to hit this category. And then we've also given you another category here to categorize those tips. So if you have players that are making charges in GoTab, they're adding tips to their bills as they're closing out. Those are going to go to a separate revenue category in CourtReserve as well. So you can see the split between the food and beverage and then the tips as well. We also take the sales tax and we categorize that sales tax for you separately, so you can see the sales tax from GoTab as well. All right, so let's jump back over here. Josh, I didn't see any questions come through, so I'm just going to keep going. So Adam did facilitate the charge in GoTab via the QR code. I was going to go ahead and close out this tab here just to show how it's done from a server perspective. So if you're going in here and you click manual entry, you're going to have your CourtReserve as a payment type in here, or a payment processor that you can send charges through to. So we've got, let me just grab my member number here. Okay, so you've got tips. We can add tip to this as well. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my account. And again, this is from the server perspective. So the server is going to type in the player's last name, and then they're going to type, and this is the last name as it appears on their CourtReserve account. So we're verifying based on last name and their member number, which is the PIN Adam had mentioned, but we go by the member number in CourtReserve. So if I look at this member account here in CourtReserve, I can see that this is the last name that the player has on their account, and this is the member number that we have associated with this account too. So these two numbers have to match in order for the charge to process.
And just some quick general questions that we have here. Are you able to enter the first name as well as the last name when you are typing it here?
No, right now we're just validating based on last name. So if you have a mismatch of the last name, the transaction isn't going to charge. So if the name is, Kimberly Lehman or Jane Smith, if you're entering the full name and the last name, it's not going to match. It's purely based on last name because it's going to just read that last name field within CourtReserve.
Okay, great. And are you able to use a barcode scanner to scan the member's barcode from their CourtReserve mobile app, for example, to get the member ID?
Right now, we don't have that set up as part of the integration. I do believe it's possible. We would just have to make sure that both sides within GoTab and CourtReserve have that set up within the infrastructure in order to accept that. But it is a really good idea that we probably should figure out how to implement here at some point.
Okay, great.
All
And I
right.
see, sorry,
Yeah,
we
go
do
ahead.
have a few questions in the Q&A that I wanted to cover. One of them was what happens when you have a Smith last name? So maybe that is if there's somebody with a common last name.
Yeah,
And
so if you have a common last name, it's going to take into account that member number too. So the member number should be unique to the players and to your members, and unique to the families. As if you've got families, the member number is unique to the family. So it should be matching based on those criteria. So even if you had multiple Smiths, it's going to take into account the member number.
okay, great, thank you.
You want me to grab anything else before we go?
We can wait on the next two questions when
Okay.
we start actually going through transactions in CourtReserve.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pay this transaction. Perfect. All right, so we're going to move this guy out of the way. And let me just make this a little bigger. Okay, perfect. So if I go in here, now you can see based on the setup that I have here, I was requiring a payment profile of my customer, and I was also requiring upfront payment. So because both those two settings were enabled, that payment hit my member's credit card or their payment profile that they had on file immediately. So you can see here on my transactions list, I've got a GoTab balance, which is the food and beverage items that were sent over from GoTab. And then I've got the tip that was associated with that purchase as well. And then I've got my payment line here. So depending on if there's a tip involved and things like that, you could end up with 2 or 3 different line items on a customer's account, just depending on how those settings are set up and things like that. So if we go in here now and we open up this transaction from that GoTab balance, I can actually see an overview of what was added from their GoTab account or from the charge that they sent through on that ticket. And then I can see how many was ordered, the item price, the total item price based on the quantity, the standard sales tax that was applied through the GoTab charge as well. And then over here, I would see the tip that was associated with that transaction as well. And then when you're looking at these transaction details, you'll see some information here. So the transaction ID from your payment processor through CourtReserve is going to show on this transaction as well. And then it's going to give you the GoTab transaction ID in here too. So if I ever needed to reference this transaction on the GoTab side, I have that information available to me as well. All right, and I see a question about sales tax being calculated. Sales tax is going to calculate based on your items in GoTab. Adam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember when I was setting this up, each individual item, I applied sales tax amounts to items.
Yes, that would be true. And you can set up, if you have different rules and regulations about like alcohol versus food, and you can have different sales taxes associated with each product.
Awesome, thank you. So you've got all of that information here in GoTab. Now, if I ever wanted, let's say, this is a few months later or something like that, somebody has a question about their account, I can actually click this link and it will take me into GoTab, and it will take me to a way where I can manage this tab from an admin perspective on my GoTab account. I would access this, go through this access to manage the tab and, process refunds and things like that as well. I did want to touch on refunds because I know that that was a question that we had in some of our Q&As prior to this release or just after the release. So refunds are handled specifically through GoTab. So if I were to refund this transaction, it's going to tell me that the GoTab transactions can't be refunded through CourtReserve and that I need to go to GoTab to do it. That same View GoTab link is going to take you back so you can manage the tab, and then you can go through your backend piece on your admin side in GoTab in order to manage those refunds. Those refunds are going to process back to CourtReserve, depending on how some of the other settings you have in your CourtReserve setup are set will depend on if those refunds go back to account credit, or if they go back to the credit card or the original form of payment that they used to process through CourtReserve. But those refunds are handled through GoTab. If I, as an admin, figured out that, oh no, I charged this to the wrong card, and you figured that out same day, I could revert this and then charge it to another form of payment on the admin's card through CourtReserve. I don't have to go back to GoTab to do it. But a lot of the charging and everything like that, specifically, this will all go through CourtReserve, but you do have to manage the refund piece back through GoTab. All right. All right, so I'm going to switch gears here for a second, and we are going to go over to just some brief reporting that we have available. Most of the really the reporting that you're going to probably experience is, again, just through those revenue categories that we've set up. So we simplify it to the revenue categories that you set up. So you have your GoTab food and beverage purchases that you can see by revenue category. You have the tipping. But then if you wanted to see any other particular breakdowns or anything like that for tips, who's owed what, back to your servers, that would most likely be available back to you on the GoTab side, so you can see how all of those tips break down based on the server that was charging them. And then anything else food and beverage related, if you want to see the split between food and beverage, CourtReserve is compiling those purchases into one revenue category for you right now. And then there would be reporting, Adam, on the GoTab side that would allow them to see the breakdown for reporting there.
One quick question that I wanted to point out here. There's a question on how we can break out who the tips went to. Right now, we don't have that in our CourtReserve reporting, correct? Would that be something that you need to go to GoTab to see?
Yeah, so in CourtReserve, we're not showing you how those tips break down by servers, but Adam, is there a way for them to be able to see that on the GoTab side?
Yeah, if somebody, excuse me, if somebody scans into a QR to start a tab with GoTab, what you can do is you can associate those spots with the servers that are on staff. So as they start those QR orders, it'll automatically get applied to us, assigned to a server. And then when that tab is closed, those tips that are assigned to that server will show up on their server reports as well. So as you are running the reports in the back end in GoTab and you're running your tip reports, it'll show all the servers that were assigned to those tips accordingly. So you can break those down accordingly as well. You can also break down a whole transaction report in GoTab as well, where it'll actually show you who rang in every particular order. So if you wanted to do a tip pooling or a tip breakout based on actually who placed the orders, you'd be able to do that as well through that transaction report.
Awesome.
Right.
Thanks for taking us through that. So let me just see if I had anything else here that I wanted to go through. So we talked about the outputs for revenue categories and tipping. So based on a period of time here, you can open up the summary of these different reports or the revenue categories and see a breakdown of all of those purchases and the members that they were charged to here for a specific period of time. And that will give you, just the food and beverage piece and how we charged those to your members from CourtReserve. And again, with the tips, you can see the specific charges on the members that were associated with those tips as well. All right, so that was really, we went through kind of the breakdown of the financials with CourtReserve and things like that, member accounts, and then the charging to the member accounts. But were there any additional questions, Josh, that we can address?
Yeah, we had a few questions here that I was sort of waiting for this Q&A section for. So is there a way in GoTab to show the itemized info for a certain member on something like a monthly statement?
The monthly statement would probably be best shown on the CourtReserve side, as Kim was just kind of showing just a second ago. But as far as an itemized receipt, yeah, you'll have full access to itemized receipts based on the date in which people ordered from. That it's really simple on the back end to search for. If you want me to steal the screen, Kim, I can do that.
Oh, yeah, sure. As far as the CourtReserve side goes, right now, a member is just going to see the particular charges. I do have to look at what it would take to maybe allow them to see the itemized receipts as the admins would. I don't believe they're able to see that now, but that's definitely a good improvement that we could add to it. Since we are showing it on the admin side, it would be possible to make that available to the members as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I'll just show real quick on the back end of GoTab. Over here on the left-hand side, you're actually going to see this is their manager dashboard, where you'll be able to manage the entire back end of GoTab, whether it's, changing menus, changing product options, running reports, what have you. This is our tabs page, where you'll be able to search for any particular customer that placed an order based on the date range, based on their name, where they actually ordered from. And you're able to come in here and find the broken down the receipt line item by line item. You're able to pull up the actual receipt from there as well. And you can then, if they needed a copy of the receipt, if they needed that for their records, you can shoot them an email after the fact if they didn't get one, or if they don't have access to the receipt as well. If they're ordering from their phone, they have access to their GoTab profile. Guests actually have full access in their profile to find all the receipts that they've ever had from any experience that they've had at a GoTab location, including obviously this one, no matter what kind of payment that they took as well. So they'll have very direct access to what their history was as well.
Okay, great. All right, and a few more questions here. Is there a way to keep CourtReserve non-members with credit card on file from passing payment to CourtReserve? So I'm guessing that's somebody maybe with a non-member membership type.
So maybe we're wanting to limit who can charge to GoTab based on a membership type. That's not the case right now. Right now, you can only prevent we actually also have a setting that prevents a specific member from charging to GoTab. But we don't have anything right now based on membership type. That would definitely be a good feature to add to this integration on the CourtReserve side going forward. And it's certainly something I can talk to our team about to see if we could do.
Okay, great. Next question. Since member number is different based on organization, is GoTab going to verify to make sure that they are getting charged to the correct organization? And that would be depending on the API keys in that organization, correct?
Yeah, so when you have your GoTab account set up, and then you have your CourtReserve account, we're not just going to let you go from GoTab to charge to any CourtReserve organization. So this is specific to the organization. So if you have your pickleball facility in Michigan, you also have your CourtReserve set up for that specific facility. The API keys are going to link those two organizations together. And so I'm not going to be able to charge to another CourtReserve account in New York, and same thing for that CourtReserve organization in New York. They can't charge to somebody else's GoTab system as well, through GoTab system as well. So they are linked and secured based on the API credentials. So organization A can only charge to organization A.
Okay, great. And we have another question that's sort of related to members versus non-members. Can you separate out members from non-members in terms of discounting that's available in ordering?
I'm not sure how discounting works in GoTab. I'm not sure if there's discounting available. But based on membership status, I don't believe at this time that we're passing through membership status or membership type. We are passing through statuses like suspended or expired or active. But to do that, we would probably have to make some adjustments in order to, separate out any kind of discounting based on membership type in CourtReserve.
So the way the discounting and membership to an extent works in GoTab is that it's all based on an individual's phone number. And so if you have the member's phone number that you can import into GoTab, you can actually segment those members into their own membership segment within GoTab, which would then trigger automatic discounts and benefits on the food and beverage side. As Kim mentioned, we're not pulling that information directly from CourtReserve, but it would be if you had access to that information, you could very easily import that into the segment in GoTab, which would then trigger automatic discounting, whether it be 15% off this or that. And you can also time out those discounts on certain days. You can schedule them out at certain times of the day. And you can put a limitation on a lot of those discounts as well. So we have a very extensive rules engine in GoTab where you can build out all those automatic discounts that would be applied based on, we like to say, who, what, where, and when. And this would be the who portion of that, where it would recognize those members automatically based on their phone numbers and being put into those segments. And you can also have them removed from those segments, at any time as well.
Okay,
Awesome.
great.
That's great.
All right, and we did have a question on the branded app, and the question is, will the app be labeled as your organization rather than CourtReserve? And that's going to be sort of the main thing with the branded app. So you're going to have your own app in the App Store, both for Apple and Google, and it's going to be your organization name rather than a general CourtReserve app where members can navigate through different clubs that use CourtReserve.
Yeah. So this integration is separate. Branded app would be, your app, like Josh said, your app's app in the App Store, but we're not opening, let me just make sure I understand the question correctly. We're not able to open the GoTab tabs on the customer side from within the branded app. So this would be if your customer was at the facility processing, purchasing food and beverage at the facility. It's not done through the CourtReserve branded app. It's done through the GoTab system, and they're different point of sale systems.
And also, to be fair, all the GoTab ordering is not actually app based. From a guest perspective, it's all browser based. So you won't need to download any additional apps in order to utilize the ordering portion of it.
Okay, awesome. Now you could do, I'm sure, since those are all web-based, if you were an organization with a branded mobile app, you could certainly add a link on your dashboard that would be for GoTab ordering, and it would take those users to those that web-based ordering system. So you could link it in your branded app, customized through your admin settings and your admin mobile app settings, but it's not something that we automatically integrate into the branded app. You would just have to add a link.
That's a good call out.
Okay, great. All right, and we did have a question. This question was, do we need receipt printers in case someone wants a receipt for business purposes? And is there any other equipment that would sort of be needed to run this integration smoothly?
Adam, I'll let you take that one.
Yeah, we have plenty of locations that run completely digital, no printers whatsoever. You can have them, like I mentioned earlier, the receipts will all end up living in their GoTab profile as well, so they'll have access to them from there. You can, when you close out, you'll have the option of having if you close out at a point of sale, you'll have the option of having that emailed to you or texted to you as well. So you won't necessarily need, and especially if you're using a kitchen display screen as well, you won't need a kitchen printer in those scenarios if you don't want to use one. As far as any additional equipment, it really depends on how you want to have people order. I would say that it would always be nice to have at least one point of sale so your staff have access to these tabs and have orders and stuff like that. But if you want to make all of your guest ordering flow through the QRs, I mean, there's no equipment that's needed for those except printing out the QR codes for people to scan. Otherwise, we have the ability to do handheld ordering devices. You will need a display screen for the KDSs to actually see the tickets that come in, and any other point of sale if you want counter point of sales set up. There is a kiosk option, a self-service kiosk option as well that we can add into the flow of your concept.
I do want to piggyback on the self-service kiosk aspect, Josh. I didn't know that we had a frequently asked question in our document about, if I could set this up in an iPad to run alongside my CourtReserve check-in kiosk. And so since the CourtReserve check-in kiosk is web-based, essentially you could open another tab and have that tab within your browser window pointing towards GoTab. If it's web-based, if that kiosk is web-based, or you have some sort of ordering system that is web-based there, you could theoretically use the same iPad to do that with different tab views. But sometimes that can get confusing for people. So I did want to caution if people were doing that people understood how to, get between the two different screens.
Okay, great. All right, and we did have a question. So someone did notice that on the payment, I'm thinking this is on the GoTab point of sale page, there was a search icon they noticed, and they were wondering if you could look up members by last name on that search function rather than having to manually input things like the member last name and the member ID.
Right now there is that search function is really to activate the search fields. So it's not like a lookup within the GoTab system. If a members have access to their member numbers in CourtReserve, so you don't have to worry about, they're able to go in and see what their member number is within their app, or they have access to that. And then also CourtReserve admins also have access to the CourtReserve side of it with member numbers and things like that too.
Okay, great. We did have a question about how member numbers would not be automatically disabled so the question was if the member numbers on a member's account would automatically disable if the member's membership was not renewed.
So I brought my settings back up here so you can see how that behavior can you can stop that behavior from people with expired memberships from charging in GoTab. So we have a prevent suspended and inactive members from charging in GoTab. So if you have a member who you don't want to be charging if their account is expired, it's past due, they didn't renew, they don't have a membership, you would want to turn this setting on. And so that's going to just throw back an error when they attempt to go charge that says membership is inactive, please contact the facility for assistance kind of thing. So then they can, go to somebody that they need to maybe renew their membership or something like that. If they actually opened their app and they completed the payment of the membership, if it was just expired due to non-payment or something, the system actually updates every time that you send the charge through. So within 30 seconds, a member could go back into the CourtReserve app, renew their membership, go back into GoTab and complete that charge, and they'll be good to go.
Okay, so I see it looks like that question was based on the discounting. So since we aren't grabbing the phone number sort of automatically, we wouldn't have a way of automatically disabling a member, if they don't renew for a specific membership that does have discounting.
Right. Yeah. Since we're not pulling those phone numbers and those segment lists through the API at this time, it would be a process of managing that by the facility.
Okay, great. In the last set of questions that we have, so somebody has a facility that has a banquet facility sort of aspect, and they were wondering what the approach would be in terms of using GoTab in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, we work with a lot of different locations that have private dining space, banquet space, stuff like that. One of the kind of differentiators for GoTab when it comes to those types of things is that we will recognize deposits as deferred revenue. And so you can actually remotely charge a deposit for a space by punching it into the point of sale and actually sending that tab as like an invoice remotely via email or via SMS. And have them pay remotely that way. So it's obviously a lot more of a secure connection. You're not taking credit card information over the phone and typing it in. And then that deposit will live virtually in the background in your deferred revenue stream. You can then apply that deposit to the event on the day of the event so that it hits your top line sales on the actual day of the event that you took in that sales. So, that's usually, a pretty good use case in those environments. Completely separately, we also have a great integration with another piece of software called Triple C, where we'll integrate in a very similar way. We'll be able to incorporate that into those events as well. So as far as also being able to create different QR codes that would then allow people to scan into the QRs to actually jump onto the tab for that event becomes extremely useful as well. So it's like you don't have multiple people making their own transactions based on the event that you're hosting. You have the host of the event who wants to pick up a tab. They can share that tab with everybody that's coming in. So as they place orders individually, it's all going onto that shared tab. And then we can also allow the different limitations on what people are actually able to order. We use what we call event cards. You can actually issue those event cards to individuals within the party to then use as payment, and then you can put limitations on what those event cards actually can be used for and when they can actually be used. So think of them as like digital drink tickets to an extent. You can use these for up to 2 beers within the time period of your event. So a lot of really flexible ways in which you can manage your events utilizing GoTab in that manner as well.
Okay, great. All right. And that covers all of the questions that we had in the Q&A. Let me see if there are any general questions that we have here that did not get answered. One quick one. Can guests sign up for a membership through the GoTab point of sale?
No, members, or I'm sorry, a person is going to have to sign up for a membership through the CourtReserve system still, but as soon as they have that membership and it's active in CourtReserve, they'll be able to charges over to GoTab, or from GoTab to CourtReserve. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. So that goes over all of the questions that we have today. Thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Adam, Patricia, and Kim for being here. This was a very informative webinar. For everybody that would like to see a recording, or if you know somebody that couldn't join, we will have the recording for this webinar both on GoTab's YouTube channel and CourtReserve's YouTube channel. So be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. It was awesome being here.
Same here.
Have a great day,
Thank you.
everybody.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.